Hey, it's the Direct Response Podcast. I'm your host, Travis Ketchum, founder of Campaign Refinery. Joined today by the newsletter dude himself, David Cartolano. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, man?
So, we finally get a topic that I know is going to be right up your alley, which is how to
Yeah.
grow a newsletter. This is, newsletters are hot, but they're only as hot as they can grow. It kind of feels like, right? Because what's the point of writing the best content in the world if no one is there to see it? So, if you are watching this video, you're probably like, dude, I want to do a newsletter, but I want to grow it so that the same effort gets more results, which is my favorite kind of work. Same effort, more results. So I'm going to let you spin on this one because I know we see a lot of email in aggregate, but you're more defined on the newsletter world. So what are like some of the best ways to grow a newsletter as rapidly as possible? And then maybe we'll talk about some long-term strategies as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I think overall, the best way, period, hands down, for a newsletter to grow is to have a really great freaking newsletter. It's the same way, like if you have a restaurant, like how does the restaurant grow? How do you get more people in the restaurant? Of course, we're going to talk about all the business and marketing stuff on this podcast. I promise. But if you have a really great sandwich, people are going to talk about it and they're going to bring other people to your restaurant. So I think have that principle in the back of your head as like, when in doubt, how do I make my product better? Let me ask the subscribers what they want. So just have that in the back of your head. If we're going to talk about how do you grow a newsletter, simple answer. You can, I could go down the list, but
Go
you
for it.
could
Put it on the
really,
list. Let's do it.
I want to split it. I want to split it into two. You either
Okay.
pay for subscribers or subscribers come to you. Okay. So what it's known as paid traffic or organic. Organic is slower. It's more random. It's not as predictable. Maybe you go viral and you get thousands of subscribers, or maybe you just stay stuck for the next 2.5 years. Paid is when you run, it could be running ads. It can be running Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads, Pinterest ads, cross promotions inside of other newsletters that you pay for. Could be running contests, which is that's Travis's game, right? You could do radio ads. I've heard all different types of ads. All of them work. The only thing that I want to caution you against is if someone's like, oh, this doesn't work for newsletters, it's because they stuck at it for like 2 weeks and gave up. All right. Everything works if you work it. So
There's a lot of people that say Facebook ads don't work, for example. Yet the billions of dollars that are spent by very smart people prove that
yeah,
Facebook ads work. They just didn't work for you.
yeah, precisely. So rather than say like, oh, how do I grow a newsletter? I think the question you should be asking is how fast do I want to grow this newsletter? And what kinds of leads do I want to put on my newsletter? So if someone comes through organically, they might not have, if someone comes through organically, they might trust your brand more compared to if someone who just bought and opted into an ad and got your lead magnet. They might not trust you as much. So the question of lead quality comes in, and there's always a trade-off. Always, 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 always. So how do you grow your newsletter? The question is, how fast do you want to grow your newsletter? What can you spend per customer? And like, what's your time frame, man? So it gets much deeper than just a simple question, because I could give you the tactic. I can talk about, have a lead magnet for have an ebook for recipes for kids with ADHD to get people on your moms who have kids with ADHD. If you have that newsletter, then great. Give them a cookbook, right? Simple ad, simple lead magnet. But that's a tactic. I think as a newsletter owner, as a business owner, you got to put the access of time onto things. So
Something's leaping off the page to me here that feels really important, which is, first of all, what is a subscriber worth to you? That feels like the first calculus
Yep.
before you can really even sort of decide which path, how much, and how fast, right? I mean, doesn't that feel like a big thing? So why don't you walk through, some of the base calculation on that so people can kind of get a rough idea about what their subscribers might even be worth?
So I'm glad you brought this up. So if you are going to be running ads, if you are going to be paying for subscribers in any sort of way, the question you have to ask is, how much can I spend? So let's say I know I can get subscribers for $1 per subscriber. It's like, okay, I have $300 that I'm going to spend to get $1 per subscriber, which sounds great and good. But now you're the newsletter owner slash you're the business owner. Like, where did that $300 come from? Are you going to make it back? Are you just going to throw it into the void? Right? So you have to ask yourself, all right, if I get $300 and bring in 300 subscribers, I have a $5 product. How many of those subscribers do I need to sell this $5 product to so I break even, right? And if you do the math, it would be 60. So I would have to get 60 purchases of my $5 product in order for me to spend $300 and get that money back. So I pretty much, it's in business, it's known as covering your cost per acquisition. So
Liquidate.
that way,
Liquidate your
what?
ad spend. Liquidate your ad spend.
Liquidating your ad spend, right? So you have to ask yourself though, well, crap, I've only sold 12 of my cookbooks for $5. Then it's like, okay, well then that's what's known as pissing your money away on ads. And you have to ask yourself, okay, well, do I have $300 next month to do that? Okay. And, add zeros, subtract zeros, wherever you're at in the game, it does come down to, are you building a flywheel that can sustain itself? Because if you're going to spend ads, at some point, that wheel needs to turn around and you need to see that money again in order to spend more for ads. Which is why some people go to organic, because they're scared of spending
Ideally,
money.
you have more money coming out of the back end than you're putting in the front, right? That's
There you go.
profit, baby. But at
Right.
minimum, it needs to be equal.
Right. Unless your model is to operate at a loss. But if you understand operating at a loss, this is probably not the podcast for you. You can look at our more advanced stuff. So, so in order to grow a newsletter, if you are going to pay for subscribers, where's the money coming from? And when are you getting it back? And if you're not asking yourselves those questions, then the flywheel, that needs some work. And that's something that I would spend a lot of time on. Because if that flywheel isn't in place, then yeah, great. You're going to run ads for 2-3 months, and then the newsletter is going to get boring, and then you're going to stop doing it, and then you're going to put it on Deuce or Flippa, and then say, hey, David, can you buy my newsletter? I'm going to look at it and be like, well, no, there's no growth here. Okay. So that's paid ad side of things. I do want to move to the organic side of things. And Travis, I do want you to chime in on contests because I think it's a really creative way of doing so. Organically, you can get newsletter subscribers by asking your mom to subscribe. Like that is an organic one-on-one conversation. You can ask a bunch of people on social media to subscribe, like one to many. You could have other people on your subscriber list. You could ask them to bring in referrals. Okay, that's organic as well. There's many ways to I almost said cut this turkey. I think I'm hungry. There's many ways to cut this turkey of getting subscribers onto your list without paying for them. But at the end of the day, either you have to tell somebody to join the list, somebody has to tell somebody to join the list, or you can, cross your fingers and pray to the organic gods of the internet that somebody finds you and then opts in. Okay. Not as sustainable and predictable as running ads. So contests, though, that is something that I think is really cool.
Contests are kind of cool because they can sort of straddle both sides of it depending on how you decide to run it. So the thing about contests is they have various attributes. So first of all, let me just give a little bit of background about why you should even care about what I have to say about contests. I ran a contest platform for a number of years, had over 20,000 customers, turned over 30 million opt-ins. I've seen some things in the contest world. All right. And here's the beautiful thing about what they offer is that they offer true scarcity because they have a defined start and end date. They have a really high front end conversion rate because it's very simple what the pitch is. You put your information in and you'll be entered to win something, right? Either a few people will win something really valuable or a lot of people will win something less valuable. Then it has mechanics that are referral mechanics to incentivize every user that comes in to then share it out because it will exponentially increase their odds of winning by bringing more people into the contest. So, for example, like the system that we used to run was 1 point when you entered yourself, 10 points for every person you brought in. So there's a
Hmm.
clear and weighted incentive, right? Because if I entered myself, I only have 1 point. I bring three people in, I have 31 points, right? My odds go up drastically. And then each of those people only have 1 point unless they bring more people in. And so you create this big flywheel. Now, the reason I said it can straddle both organic and paid is because it depends on how you choose to run it. You can have sponsors that can get involved in various ways that can keep it more of an organic feel, or it can be paid straight up. Now, if even if you pay, the conversion rate and the referral attributes of a contest often make it a much more productive experience for sending ad traffic to a contest than ad traffic to your video series or your PDF or whatever, just because of the efficacy, the conversion rate and the referral components mean that the net yield is just higher than those normal lead magnet sort of channels. When
Yeah.
you get sponsors involved, the cool part is they understand the mechanics here, and you can leverage any existing base you have as well as the new base you're going to get and sort of weaponize that as your carrot for other people to get involved in your contest. So, for example, sponsors can send you traffic. Sponsors can pay to be on the back end of the promotion, right? We're talking about liquidating. So you're getting cash in the bank, which gives you a budget to then pay for prizes. Or, there's various ways that you can basically get them to send you traffic, pay for your traffic, right? It's very, very powerful. And the best customers we ever had would stack these. So they would say, okay,
Hmm.
we're going to go get three sponsors. We're going to get one to help us with the prize. So now our cost of goods sold on the contest essentially go to zero. We're going to get one to pay us to be in the back end. So now we have a budget to send ads. So we can go to our other pitches saying, hey, we're going to promote it to our own list and we're going to buy $500 worth of ads or $1,000 or whatever the number is. And then we're going to find someone with the existing community of our ideal prospects and we're going to cross promote them in exchange for them promoting our contest. So they get to earn goodwill on the front end by giving their audience access to something cool. And on the back end, we'll promote, one of their offers not only to the people that came in from them, but also the referrals and the other sponsors that are involved. And so by doing all three, you can self-liquidate your growth funnel right in the beginning and have a really high conversion rate in the process. Now, here's the rub. You may say, okay, people entered for a contest. How does that gear them up for our newsletter? There is one key thing you must do to make all of this work to get the right people on your list, and that is your prize selection. So your prize must be highly, highly, highly correlated to the thing you want to talk about, do, or sell on the back end in your talk about in your newsletter. So for example, if you are a mom that deals with ADHD kids, as you used in your example earlier, giving away Super Bowl tickets would be a massive success, and I'm using air quotes because you would have a lot of people enter, but a miserable failure because the overlap between that and what you want to talk about is incredibly low, right? Whereas if the prize was something highly correlated to kids with ADHD, maybe it's a course, maybe it's a physical product that can help them focus, right? It's only going to appeal to your ideal prospect. And so while you will have a lot less people enter the contest through your various channels, through paid ads, through partners, through whatever, and through referrals, your conversion rate will be lower, but the people that get on your list will be way more ideal for what you want to talk about, and you'll actually see, length of time on your newsletter, engagement rate of opens and clicks, the reduction of complaints, conversion to your other products and services. So that is sort of like contests in a nutshell that can straddle both organic and paid and be hyper effective.
I love it. I love it. And you brought up something that I think I mentioned a little bit in the beginning, but if you really are growing a newsletter, you really, really got to be on top of lead quality. And to put that in better words, how much the people on your list actually give a shit about your newsletter. Okay. Because at the end of the day, you can get all of those dads that signed up for the Super Bowl tickets, and then they get this email about, making cookies without a lot of sugar to help regulate your child's ADHD. And they'd be like, what the hell is this? And then they just delete it and unsubscribe it. That's a bad lead,
If you're
right?
lucky, that's all they do.
If
They'll
you're
probably even
lucky,
complain if
yeah,
they killed your
yeah.
deliverability.
Sometimes I've done work where I have done cross promotions with partners, and they brought in leads, and the leads themselves, some of the leads were great. Others, they didn't even open the first three emails, so I unsubscribed them because I'm not. If If a subscriber doesn't open the first three emails, they're not a subscriber. They're a contact, and you need to stop sending them emails like right away because they haven't opened. There's no evidence of them opening at all. So don't keep sending. So lead quality is really important. So when it comes down to it, and I did say it in the beginning, organic, it is not predictable. It is slow. But if you do build an organic brand over time, those leads will, from what I've seen in my experience, by the numbers, they open more, they click more, they buy more. It's not saying you can't do that with ads, but with ads and paid growth, which also could be co-regs, influencers, that level of trust that people on the organic side have, they don't have that much trust. So that is something that you have to be aware of. Just assume that the lead quality of an ad, of a subscriber that you paid for, is lower than if they found you organically by their own accord. So that is something to be very critical of, because people will race to 10,000 subscribers as fast as they can, only to realize like, oh, no one is clicking on my newsletter. I'm making zero money from all of these Beehive ads that I'm running in it. I'm making zero purchases. No one's replying, but I have all these people. It's a great newsletter. I'm like, no, it's not. You filled it very, very quickly and unorthodoxly, whatever it is. You filled it at a very fast clip and didn't consider whether or not people are actually getting the product that they wanted. So that's just what I've seen. So it's a huge word of caution on lead quality. Be on
but
top
paid,
of it.
I mean, you could get 10, 50, 100 times more leads, right? And so
Of course. Yeah.
making sure that your offer, same as with the contest, doesn't matter if it's a lead magnet contest, entry point, whatever it is, that you're setting the expectation about the kind of, you're signaling. You want the hand raisers to be people that are interested, and then also being really unemotional about your willingness to cut when they don't engage, when they don't meet the minimum sort of key performance indicators of a high quality subscriber, and then factoring in that decay, that early decay, into your true cost, right? So you might be saying, hey, I can get them for $1 per lead through paid ads, but if you have to throw away half of them, you're really kind of paying $2 per good lead, right?
Correct.
And so that might change your calculus about what needs to happen to make that worthwhile and sustainable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to be on top of your lead quality. So I know we stretched out this question, and the reason that I wanted to stretch it out and explain it in this way is because this is one of those, well, how do I grow my newsletter question? Oftentimes, like beginner level questions come from not asking other questions. So hopefully by watching this, by listening to this, you can now ask yourself, okay, well, how quickly do I want to grow this newsletter? Do I want to grow by, 100 subscribers this month? Or do I want to grow by 1,000 subscribers this month? Or do I want to grow by 10,000? And higher volume means you're more likely to do paid partnerships, or even just regular partnerships where it's like, I fix your toilet and you promote my newsletter. I don't know. It's probably been done. So if that's your thing, great. But when you start to increase those numbers and you start to say, okay, instead of how do I get 1 subscriber per day, how do I get 1,000 subscribers per day? You do need to start playing bigger games and thinking like bigger publications. And bigger publications have partnerships. Bigger publications run ads. Doesn't matter what kind, YouTube, Facebook, influencer, TikTok, Stone Tablet, I don't give a shit. But at some point, you need a level of distribution that your own 2 hands do not have 25 hours in a day for. So that's really it. That's really it.
Yeah, so the last thing I'll leave you with for consideration is, as you ask this question through scale, as you say, how do I grow my newsletter faster? Like I already have some strategies, maybe I have some organic in play, maybe I'm running some ads. I would say that keep in mind, this is not a newsletter specific thing, but as you try to get more scale, the cost vectors and the friction goes up. Yep. So scale is expensive. It's sort of the inverse of what scale is in a lot of other things. You think about like if I wanted to print 10 shirts or I wanted to print 1 million shirts, the per shirt price gets cheaper at 1 million versus 10. Counterintuitively, when you say, hey, I want to run more Facebook ads to my core audience, the reality is, especially if you're, mom's with kids with ADHD. Like the pie is only so big. And what's going to happen is the ad networks will say, if you want to push out the other advertisers for that volume, we're going to turn the dials and your cost per lead is actually going to go up because you want more of them. You want it more than everyone else, so we're going to make you pay. So when you're doing your math, like ideally you want to make sure that you have some healthy margin in the low volume, because if you want to turn that volume dial, expect that it's going to get more expensive to do so no matter what channel or method you do. Because if you want to own a market, if you want to really saturate it, it is more expensive, more difficult, and more headwinds. So just keep that in mind as you find these paths. Don't expect that scale is going to solve all of your problems. In fact, it will probably create new ones, but that's okay if you have the margin and padding to do that from the
Right.
get-go. So one
Yeah.
last little piece there.
And have a good product. Have a good product so your customers share it for you. Your customers, and it's weird how I say customers because you're like, I'm not selling anything. Yes, you are. You're selling your newsletter and they're paying for their email address. All right. You really got to make sure that the quality is there. And that does mean reaching out to customers. That does mean asking them what they want. And that does mean putting aside your ego and saying, well, instead of what I think the newsletter should have in it, you ask what they want and then you put what they want in it. And it's a constant cycle again and again. And you just keep asking and you keep making it better because then by the time you do scale, and you are going to be spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a day on ads, you know that your product is already getting referrals. It's already getting forwards. And that means that there are people enjoying it. So if the ads have a bad day, guess what? Your subscribers, you made them have a good day. So they're going to help recoup a shit ad day, literally by the numbers. So going back full circle to the beginning when I said like the product is the answer. The product's the answer. And it's going to help, I promise, when you start hitting those high numbers. Believe me, I've seen it. So, yeah, that's it. That's my fancy explanation.
Especially when you look at things like churn too, right? Because if you have a really compelling newsletter, maybe they stick
Oh,
around
dude.
twice as long. So if they
Uh,
stick around twice as long, they're worth twice as much. It's pretty much that simple in
yep.
terms of ad space you can, fill or whatever else. So
Mm-hmm.
having a great product can dramatically, product in the sense as the newsletter can dramatically change that math equation for you, right? If you're barely skimming by on liquidating your ad spend, but you put a real effort into improving the content quality and your subscriber lifetime value doubles, easy money, right? So
Yeah.
great place to be at.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be in the churn and burn game. I've seen so many newsletters that are in the churn and burn game. And it's actually most of them. If you put in even a little bit of effort, you can actually have something that people like and refer to their friends. But you do have to put in that four-letter word, and it sounds like work. So you have to do that.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for sharing your knowledge and experience, David. I really appreciate it. I'm
Yeah.
glad we had one that was right up your alley today. If you want to learn more about this and some other ideas on how to grow your newsletter, how to run a clean list, do all those kind of things, we, of course, have our link down below to the blog post, which is readily updated. If you want a great platform to get that email delivered at a high rate so that you're maintaining as much of that lifetime value as possible, check out Campaign Refinery down below. And David, you got even more information about newsletters that I think are super relevant to this topic. So what would
Oh,
people do
totally.
if they wanted to actually grow and sell and do all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to learn about growing your newsletter and eventually even exiting and selling your newsletter, not like the hustle and morning brew, which everybody talks about, which is great, but like most of us don't do that. If you do want to not talk about it, but if you do want to read more about it and learn more about it, you can go to wealthyinbox.news and I describe literally the growth strategies I talk about. I'm talking about what investors look for, and they don't want churn and burn newsletters. So there's plenty of that. You can go to wealthyinbox.news and check it all out.
Cool. Well, thanks, and we'll talk to you guys soon.